Thank you, everybody, for being here. My name is Anna Hansinger, and I am with the Minority Servants Cyber Infrastructure Consortium. Are you enjoying the meeting? So glad. And favor, when we send you a link or a QRB code to give us feedback about the meeting, we would really appreciate to hear from you. So don't forget about that. All right, let's get started. We're gonna have one person present here with us and another person joining us via video. It goes without saying that the role that funding agencies, funding organizations play is pretty critical to a lot of the things that we do in research and education. I mean, it goes without doubt. I want to again thank the support from the National Science Foundation through our awards that have made events like this and the opportunity to bring our community together. So thank you, NSF, for believing in MSCC. That's not to say that we don't want to also bring other opportunities and other strategies and things that are happening with many other organizations that are also working very hard with the community represented here. So this session is to just give two organizations, one the National Science Foundation and the other one the Air Force, an opportunity to share with you a bit more on the work that they're leading to support our community and the partnerships and opportunities that are possible. So our first presenter, which I'm very glad that I got to meet for the first time in person, is Mr. Edward Lee. Mr. Lee, as you can see, he's he's a senior management analyst for HBCUs and minority servant institutions for the Air Force Office of Scientific Research. Mr. Lee will go first, and then I will introduce our second speaker. Mr. Lee will do his presentation and then take a few minutes to address any Q&A from the audience. And then we're going to seg to our next speaker, Ms. Katie Antipas from the National Science Foundation, who's going to join us via video. Okay? So, Mr. Lee, and thank you for being here.
Good morning, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, I'm gonna try to stay within my 15 minutes, but I have a lot of good information I want to share. And anytime I get to come to these meetings, this is my first time here. I want to thank the organizers and, of course, Anna for inviting me to present and share some information with my organization. It's my first time here, and I'm looking forward to being involved with the MSCC. So with that, let me just jump out and jump into my briefing. Again, my name is Edward Lee, and I work for this organization called the Air Force Research Laboratory. We are the research arm to the Air Force. We don't do basic training, we don't do push-ups, we don't do, all them jumping jacks and all that stuff. I said I can do one push-up. If you put a donut on the floor, I could probably do one push-up. But again, we are the research arm, and our focus is research. This is the way we're structured. We're actually 11 laboratories across the country. And in these 11 laboratories, our office is the one that's responsible for basic research. We are called the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, and if I speak in a different language called acronyms, please stop me and raise your hand, because we in the Department of Defense, sometimes we get into this acronym thing and we spit out these letters and people don't quite understand. So we are called the Air Force Office of Scientific Research, or we commonly call ourselves AFOSR. Again, we are the basic research arm, but the other laboratories are responsible for advanced and applied research. And you can see there's a cadre of different laboratories here, and the one of most important emphasis is probably our information lab in Rome, New York, which ties directly into the mission and vision of MSCC, which is cyber. Who are we? Well, we're a small organization. We're about 10,000 employees, and our mission is to discover, shape, and champion and transition high-risk basic research to profoundly have an impact on the Air and Space Force. We've been doing research for the Air Force for quite a few years already, but in 2019, we actually added another service to our cadre, and that is the Space Force. So we're actually doing basic research for the Air Force and Space Force. We're about 10,000 employees, mostly scientists and engineers, professionals, and again, we are the basic research arm to the Air Force and for the Air Force Research Laboratory. Our mission is to discover, shape, and again, champion basic research. We're about 60 world-class subject matter experts. We do about 1,600 grants, 300 academic institutions, 50 states, 65 countries. We have 150 industry-based contracts and more than 230 research efforts. My role for this organization is I am your HBCU acronyms, Historically Black Colleges and Universities and Minority Serving Institutions Program Manager. I have a $5.5 million budget, and I'm always looking for institutions that can do basic research in the area of Air Force. And now I'm also trying to expand and open the aperture a little bit to see how many HBCUs can actually delve into the area of space research. One of the things we like to invest in is called high risk, high payoff. And if we aren't failing, then sometimes that can spin off into other areas of research. So again, high risk, high payoff. And what I'm currently supporting is about 38 projects with multiple institutions, including HBCUs and MSIs across the country. Again, I'm always looking for those diamonds in the rough, and as I get further into the briefing, I want to try to give you a little snapshot about how to engage with our organization. What we do, again, our job is to discover basic research that will have a larger impact. And again, we are focused on basic research and fundamental science. We're broken into 4 divisions as our engineering and complex systems, our physical sciences, information and networks, and our chemistry and biological science division. And those basic research divisions actually bubble up into the advanced and applied research areas that are done at our other laboratories across the country. Again, this is a little bit more information, and this may be somewhat of an eye chart if you can't see it that well. These are our actually 4 divisions in our organization. But the one I want to focus on mostly is our information and networks division, because again, that ties more closely into the MSCC directive. As you can see, we have quite a few program officers, and this is the way we're structured. We have closely 40 portfolios, and each one of these portfolios is directed by a subject matter expert. So as you look at that second column, Information and Networks Division, you can see we have a person that's embedded in each one of those specific areas. And just to mention a few, we have computational intelligence, we do dynamic systems and control theory, we do mathematical optimization, trust and influence, complex networks, and of course we do quite a bit in the area of cybersecurity. But the other piece I wanted to add on the back end of this is we actually have 5 international offices as well. So we have a larger footprint where we are engaging on a global scale with those 5 international offices: London, Tokyo, 2 in South America, and just recently we opened up an office in Melbourne, Australia. So I was in a session the other day about global connections, and I would like to have shared some information about how we can try to tap into some of the resources here to see how you can expand and open your aperture to look at how do you expand your vision at your university to incorporate some of these international markets that may be available for your research areas in cyber infrastructure. How we accomplish our mission? Well, we do technology transfer. We do quite a bit of programs right now. Our budget for our organization is a little close to $450 million. We have a bunch of programs that include workforce development. We do summer faculty fellowship program. As a matter of fact, I've been talking to some of the attendees here that will be actually going to one of our laboratories starting next week for an involvement with our summer faculty fellowship program, where they spend 8 to 10 weeks at one of our laboratories. And in this case, they're going to our Rome Information Laboratory in Rome, New York. It's our information lab. I like to say, if it has a keyboard, it's done at our Rome site. We do big data, autonomy, machine and learning, offense and defense, cyber, and big data. So again, it's our information lab, and it's really focused on advanced and applied research. So again, we're also always trying to diversify the investment strategy, and I'm looking to see if I can tap into some of the, again, resources here from some of the universities that are represented here at this meeting. Again, we do workforce development. We have internship programs for PhD programs at your university. If you have students looking to expand their education in terms of PhDs, we have programs for that. We have, again, programs for infrastructure. I also work very closely with another organization called the Office of the Secretary of Defense. We just recently closed out a solicitation back in April where they had $55 million available for infrastructure or for equipment. And that equipment solicitation ranged between $200,000 up to $1 million for equipment. Right now, I think we have 268 proposals that were submitted. Hopefully, your university submitted one to that package, and we'll get to review that. It's a tri-service program where all the services participate: Army, Navy, Air Force, and the Defense Threat Reduction Agency as well. So how do you work with us? Well, we have what's called a broad agency announcement that just came out. And if you go to grants.gov, you can do a Google search or search on this number I put in red, the FA955025S0001. That document is about a 100-page document that gives detailed information about our organization. How you want to get involved, how you want to look at the portfolios and detailed descriptions of all of our portfolios that I mentioned earlier, those 40 or so portfolio areas. And embedded in that document is contact information for each of those program officers. There's an email address, and there's also a phone number. But as you know, phone numbers are probably not the best way to communicate nowadays. So if you can send the person, as you look at the description and see if what we're doing collides with what you're looking for at your university, then it's a great opportunity for you to reach out, send that person an email, and then start the dialogue process. So the first thing I like to start out with is talking about what this drafting idea statement, or what we call the white paper. That statement, normally, if this is your first time or you're trying to get engaged with the Department of Defense, normally the white paper phase is normally the first stop. You go to that broad agency announcement, you find the correct portfolio or the program officer, and then you construct this idea statement. And the statement doesn't have to be all-inclusive, but should address some unique values on propositions of what you plan to do with your university. And the statement needs to be specific enough that it catches the interest of that program officer. It doesn't have to be 20 pages. We normally ask for just a snapshot, or again, just an idea statement. It can be 1 to 2 pages of information, just to make sure that what you're looking to do captures the idea or the interest of that program officer. Here's some questions to consider when you're scoping that idea statement. Is it basic research? Is it hard? Why you and why now? Are you doing something that everyone else is doing, or have you created a specific technology niche at your university that you can be the go-to university for that specific area of research? What's the risk? You know, how confident are you in asking the right questions to point you in the right direction when you're trying to scope this idea statement? And in many cases, what can happen is as you submit this idea statement or these two or three pages of information and send it to that program officer, they can review that information and give you some suggestions to say, this is good, but you might want to focus it a little bit more on basic research. I've seen white papers come in or idea statements that come in that were too broad or were trying to, or actually leaning a little more towards being too applied. And our organization supports basic research and the applied research. We normally farm that out to one of the other laboratories across the AFRL ecosystem. Work with a program officer. Again, contact them in person, contact them over the phone or via email is probably the best way. If the idea seems promising, a program officer will initiate an ongoing dialogue, setting expectations and explaining the full proposal process. So again, the first step is writing a well-written white paper. A well-written white paper normally adds to the request for a full proposal. If you can write a really, really, really good white paper, your chances of getting a full proposal submission funded increases exponentially. So again, take the time, do some homework, do some research, make sure that what you plan to do is a good collision with what we're trying to do in our organization. In summary, this is what we do. We do long-term research. We like to call ourselves cutting edge or basic research. A lot of times what we do in the basic research arena, sometimes it leads to failure, which is fine. You'd be surprised how many times things fail and it spins off into different areas of research or technology areas. I think about, different inventions and things, like cornflakes that was invented when the guy was trying to make some oatmeal and spilled some on the griddle, and it became flaked up, and now it became an invention for cornflakes. So you'd be surprised how many things that start out as something, again, cutting edge technology or high risk, high payoff. It starts out as something and then you fail, but it spins off into another technological area of interest for the DOD and for our organization. So I think that's it for me. I'm going to get out the way. Please connect with us through AFRL. There's our site information. If you want a little bit more information, you can look us up. We're at afresearchlab.com. That gives you more detailed information about where we are, how we're structured. And I'll be around for the rest of the day for engaging with you about questions and how we can talk about, finding out what those diamonds in the rough are at your university. So, again, I want to thank Anna for the opportunity to come and speak to this crowd today, and hopefully we can start the dialogue for some beautiful interactions later on to see how I can fund some more institutions of higher education, especially from the MSI arena. So, again, thank you very much, and there's my contact information.
We have time for a few questions, if anybody from the audience has any.
Please step up to the microphones on your left and right here. Here's one brave gentleman.
Thank you for the information. Some of us are coming from working with the NSF, and so there are plenty of examples of funded proposals and things like that. Do you all have an example of some white papers that have been accepted or some grants that have been accepted so we can kind of curtail our standard way of writing information or writing these grants?
We don't have any examples, but we like to know every program officer is looking for something a little bit different. Some people say, I want a 2 or 3 page white paper. Some program officer says, just send me a paragraph. I want to make sure that what you're planning to do is something that, and here's one caveat. We don't want you to do what we do. We want you to do what you do. And you bring your ideas to us. Don't say, well, I know what the Air Force does. I want to do exactly what the Air Force does. No. We want to do and learn, I call it the triage effect. You come to us and say, this is what my expertise is in my university. This is my niche area. We do cyber infrastructure, and we work at this specific area, and we're good at it. That's what we want you to bring to us. And if you can explain that in a paragraph or a one-pager, then that's all we want. At least start the dialogue and point you in the right direction so you can start communicating with the proper program officer and begin to craft the direction that what you plan to do and what we plan to do can coincide, and then work towards, again, a full proposal submission. So,
Thank you.
mm-hmm.
Hi, thank you so much for your information. It was very insightful. My name is Jory Dale. I'm from Prairie View A&M. I was wondering more so of the implementation side for the students for education. Do you all have any modules or any learning aspects or programs or platforms that could be embedded or be used to engage students on our campuses for research purposes?
I could barely hear you, but
I'll say it
I
again.
think it was more geared towards student programs.
Yes, sir. Do you all have any modules or research intensive ideas or programs or even learning platforms that can be embedded into their classrooms, or just different learning structures that would help them understand more about research or informatics or about this stuff?
Yes, we do. We actually have a STEM program.
Okay.
And our STEM program is focused on teacher development and developing the pipeline from K through 12 and transitioning that up to the university level. But we've also looked at some of the other caveats in terms of the blue-collar workforce and junior colleges, and how do you incorporate those into your program as well. So I could connect you with our STEM program officer and point you in the right direction in terms of, what you can do in terms of, again, strengthening the pathway from K through 12. And I still don't know, and I don't know if the Department of Education has really fully determined what's the best age group to reach to get kids involved in STEM. I don't know if it's 3rd grade or 5th grade, or some people say it's in the womb. I don't know, but
As early as possible.
How do you determine and market kids' interest and develop their interest in STEM areas and keep them interested in STEM, because sometimes it can get hard.
Yes,
and especially when you look at the teacher development, when teachers can't teach science, technology, engineering, and math, the students can't follow along and develop the skill set necessary to go into STEM because they don't have the right mentoring from the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a problem. So how do you develop the teachers to be more STEM focused and then translate that knowledge down to the students to keep them interested in STEM? So I'll connect you with our STEM person, and then we'll see how we can strengthen the pathway. So
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Lee.
for your question.
Thank you.
And Anna, I'll turn it back over to you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mr. Lee. Okay, now we're gonna go to our second speaker, and through the magic of technology, there she is. So delighted to welcome via video Ms. Katie Antipas. Katie is the director of the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure at the National Science Foundation. Katie, can you hear us?
Yep, I got ya. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can. Thank you. Go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. Well, it's really nice to be here. I actually can't really see any of you, so I'm just talking to myself right now. But hopefully you will be engaged and ask some questions. I know it actually is quite hard when everyone's in person to have a remote talk. And so what I've tried to do is keep my remarks shorter, and then hopefully there can be some more Q&A. And now someone's zooming out so I can kind of see the room a little bit. So what I thought I would do is tell you a little bit about NSF generally, and then not only how to apply for funding opportunities, but how to use resources that are freely available to you. And that's something that the office that I lead does. And so I'm going to spend some more time on that aspect of what we provide to the community here. So first of all, just a few slides about NSF. NSF is an independent agency. The fiscal year 24 budget for NSF was just over $9 billion. And really the mission of NSF is articulated in this slide here, is to promote the progress of science, advance the national health, prosperity, and welfare, and secure the national defense. And the way NSF does that is by funding really fundamental and translational research in all areas of science and engineering. What's interesting about NSF is that about 95% of the funds that come to NSF go out to the community in the form of grants or different contracts or cooperative agreements. And so we are really a grant-making organization. We put out solicitations. Researchers apply to use those resources. Apply to and submit proposals to compete for those funds. Now, I'll tell you a little bit more about the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure, which is really unique within NSF. So NSF does, a lot of our funding goes to support small teams of individual principal investigators who are researching a particular field or area, question, and there may be a few students that are supported on that project. Another thing we do is support larger centers and facilities. There are AI institutes, there's large telescopes that NSF supports, for example. And then we also support building the community, building communities. It's really hard for us to individually engage with the 4,000 odd universities that are out there in our country. So what we do is we try to build networks. And MSCC is a prime example of a network that NSF is supporting, a community. So you can start to build and support each other as you build up the research capacity in MSIs and HBCUs. Okay, so let me move on from there. So then NSF is made up of different directorates and programs and offices. And you can see these that are listed here. There's biological sciences, engineering, math, polar programs, geoscience, STEM education, and social sciences. So where I come from is the Computer Information Science and Engineering Directorate, and we have an office. The Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure is an office within here. And so what's important to remember is that when you talk to someone from NSF, they're coming from a local neighborhood. They're coming from either biological sciences or polar programs or engineering. And so there are opportunities and solicitations that are put out from all of these different directorates. And so it's important that you go to the website and you can search. I believe NSF is developing a better search. I think it's an AI-enabled search that can help navigate and help you find some of the solicitations that may be the best match for your own research. Okay. And so then the Office of Advanced Cyber Infrastructure, that's actually the office that is providing support to MSCC. We provide cyber infrastructure. What we mean by cyber infrastructure is the computing infrastructure, data infrastructure, networking, security infrastructure, software, and really importantly, the people that are needed to really transform science and engineering for all scientific disciplines. And so we have investments in these different areas that I noted. And again, we're really unique as an office. We're kind of housed within one directorate, but we serve all communities. And in the last fiscal year, we made 440 individual awards, some very small, some quite large. totaling about $245 million. And this infrastructure supports over 25,000 researchers and students. So I want to talk first about how a really low barrier to entry way that you can start to use some of these resources as you're building up research ideas. So one thing, it can be hard to figure out all the resources that the NSF has available to you. And so what I've done here is put just a couple of the programs that we have that actually can help you navigate, find other things. So you don't have to know everything, you don't have to know all the programs, but these are some key programs that I think can get you where you want to go and have a variety of resources. They also have user support that can help you navigate the system. And so I'll talk about some of our national scale resources through the Access program and the NAIR pilot, and then some, I call them kind of more regional programs that might be even easier to help you get started, like PATH or the National Research Platform. So first, our Access program, this is a program that will enable you to have access to computing resources. And you can see the different computers and big systems that are funded out of our office here, kind of on the outsides of this map. And then you see circles for all the different research teams that are using these resources. So there are just thousands of researchers that use these Access resources. And what's really I want to articulate to you here is that there is an easy on-ramp. If you go to this website down there, it's access.ci.org, there's a way that you can get started with a very lightweight, maybe Jupyter notebook, if you want to do some data analysis, if you have a class and you want to use some computing resources for your students, you can get access to these resources. And there is just a small justification that you need. I know navigating these systems can be really hard. If you want a small, it's called like Explore allocation, you can get that with just writing a 1 or 2 paragraphs describing your work. Now, if you go on and need larger and larger resources, then you have to articulate, the research you're doing, and explain it, why the resources are justified. But just to get started, and that's often what people need to do, you can do that with just a paragraph or 2 and then get access to these resources. Also through the Access program, there's a whole bunch of different training opportunities, and so you can really get connected to the broader NSF networks. Then next, I wanted to talk a little bit about the NAIR, or the National AI Research Resource. And the vision around the NAIR is to create a national infrastructure that provides access to not only computing resources, but to data sets and models, educational training materials, and I think really critically, expertise and user support. And so the NAIR is building off of kind of the know-how and the expertise we had from our Access program. NSF has supported advanced computing systems for decades here, and now NAIR is building off of that, including access to data sets and models, as well as bringing in private sector partners. And so we have a number of different partners that are also providing access to really critical resources. There's about 14 different agency partners, and then there are now 28, there's a couple new industry partners that are coming on board. And so you can gain access to cloud computing resources, you can get access to OpenAI credits, you can get access to Anthropic credits, and there's just a whole host of resources that are available to you, or if you're an educator, to your students in your classroom. The NAIR pilot doesn't have yet, it's coming very soon, a quick startup track. It should be out in the next month or so, because we want to provide a really fast startup track like we have on Access. Right now there's about a 3-page application process, and you put in a request, and again, that is not what I'm talking about here is not an NSF proposal. We know it's hard to get the NSF proposals. You got to get current and pending. You got to go through your sponsored research office. To gain access to these resources is just a small write-up, and it goes to one of our awardees handling this grant. So it's really a much lower barrier to entry. Okay. And then I wanted to also call out the PATH program as well. This can be a great way, I think, for people just maybe starting or may need a little bit more hand-holding to get started. It's targeted at high throughput computing, and so it's really ideal if you have kind of processing to do with maybe a large number of individually small tasks. And again, if you reach out to the contacts here, they can help you onboard to see if your problem, your research is a good match for these resources. So I'll emphasize everything I've talked about today is free for you to use. Okay, there's no charge for you to use it, but you do have to apply for those resources. But we tried to make the application process very lightweight. And through these programs, all of them, you will get access to training, user support. We know that's often the biggest barrier people need to get access to is the expertise to know how to use them, these resources. And you'll join a community of people that are helping each other, not like MSCC, but sometimes then targeted on particular system or domain question. Okay. So I'm going to wrap up here and just talk about, in general, funding opportunities. So for funding opportunities, you have to go to the NSF website, and I put a link to our OAC page, and that will list the current funding opportunities from our office. But there are opportunities from many other offices, and you shouldn't limit yourself to just one office. There's lots of cross-cutting work that is going on here at the foundation. I'll say a number of solicitations are kind of being updated right now, so it is worth checking frequently here. You can also, subscribe to our announcements or subscribe to the announcements of any particular directorate that you're interested in. And this is a really good way to just stay in the loop. Another thing that you can do that I really encourage you to do is to serve on review panels. So you might say, well, why would I volunteer to serve on a review panel? I'm already totally busy. I think it is one of the best ways to see the process in action. When you serve on a review panel, you read other proposals, you get a sense or why this proposal scored highly. Why did this one not score as well? And when you're thinking about your own research, you have insights into maybe how you should explain things well so that your own proposal can be reviewed highly. Also, I encourage you to join different trainings or webinars if you want to learn more. And then, like the previous speaker, I would say, I would really encourage you to talk to your program officer, and really, don't hesitate. I sometimes, when I talk and meet with people from, I would say, emerging research institutions, sometimes they're so thank you so much for coming and speaking to us, and that's our job. Our job is to answer your questions. Our job is to engage with communities across all parts of the country at institutions large and small. So you are not bothering us, okay? We want you to reach out and ask questions. We can help. And again, that's our job. And I just would encourage you not to be shy or hesitate at all. We're really happy to speak with you. But we really want to engage even when we're not traveling. So please do reach out, and we'll continue to, I think, virtually come to as many of these kind of community meetings as we can. So with that, maybe I can have some time for questions.
Thank you, Katie. We appreciate it. I'm going to turn it to the audience for any questions, comments. And just a favor, if you think of a question, I need you to speak to the microphone so that Katie can hear you, or I can repeat the question.
Yeah, and maybe I can just keep talking, right? But I would just really encourage, I don't know how many people in the room are teachers or educators themselves, but we know that access to these classroom resources so your students can do, homework assignments, interactive assignments, that those resources can be hard to get. And we do have those available for your classrooms. If that's something you're interested in, please do look at those opportunities.
Thank you, Katie. We have a couple of people with questions, so I'm going to give them the mic. So Bobby, go ahead, and Katie, please just signal if you need me to repeat the question.
Okay.
Okay, here we go.
Good morning, Katie. Thank you for being here. We really appreciate the information and especially taking the time to connect to us under these circumstances. You mentioned the being a part of the review board. Can you talk a little bit about how someone would get on review boards and what they have to do in order to qualify to do some of the review boards? Do you know that process, and can you comment on it a little bit?
Sure. We are always looking for reviewers, always. And so I'm going to get Anna the link. I think we even have a list of how do you volunteer to be to serve on a panel. And we've kind of said right now, that's something you can really do to help us. People say, what can we do to help NSF right now? And I said, you can say yes when a program officer asks you to serve on a panel. And it's totally fine if you've never served on a panel before. Everyone has a first time. So I'll get you that link to sign up. And you basically say, I am interested, and you will say what your areas of interest or expertise are. And then when the program officer is making a review panel, they have a set of proposals. Then they have a kind of a list of people to look through. They often reach out to people they know in the community, but it's just a really good opportunity. We really try to make panels as diverse as possible in terms of the institutions people are coming from, the fields of expertise, particularly around cyber infrastructure, when there's many different domain scientists that leverage and use our resources. So Anna, we will get that link to you. If I had another NSF program officer on here, if there is one, maybe you can put that link in the chat, and we can get it to Anna. We are always looking for reviewers, so thank you for that follow-up question.
Thank you, Katie. We will make sure to share the link and provide more information. I think I'll just add, having participated in also review panels, it's a wonderful experience, but also a great opportunity to also connect with peers, with others, and the process into itself is just full of insights too, and you learn a lot also. I mean, from the science or the research that's being proposed to just the work that NSF does to also support research in this nation. So it's really, it's a great experience. All right, we have another question.
Hi, Katie. Thank you for presenting to us today. As a technology administrator in K-12, one of the things that I see that is missing for our students is the opportunity for them to get their hands dirty. Can you share a little bit about what we can do as administrators in K-12 to get our students those opportunities, or maybe share some links that we can try to get for our students to be able to participate in some of these opportunities? We can't hear you.
Katie, if you're talking, we cannot hear you. Can you?
I think someone muted. I think I get automatically muted here. So it's a great question. I think it is true that I think our office is often targeting, we're mostly targeting post-secondary. so community colleges, four-year undergrad institutions and higher. We have a whole STEM education directorate that does a lot of work. Now, I don't think there's anything that prevents our resources in our office from being used at kind of the high school level, but I mean, you would need some kind of programming capabilities there. So I think what I should probably do is get more information from the STEM education directorate about some of their opportunities for the K through 12. I don't want to riff too much here because it's not totally my area of expertise, but I think we can pass it on to you, Anna, as what are some of the K through 12 opportunities, and I'll make sure we get that to you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Well, Katie, I want to thank you on behalf of everybody that's here for being able to participate through video. So really appreciate it. If you think of additional questions, please send them our way, and we can make sure that they get sent to both Katie and to Mr. Lee. So please join me in thanking the two of them for today.